Welcome to Visions of Our People, where we feature brothers and sisters who have followed their vision to build businesses, institutions, or services that serve, profit, and uplift our community. Listen as we share the ideas, experiences, and skills that help to shape their unique stories of commitment, perseverance, and triumph. Be inspired and catch your vision on Visions of Our People. Now, here's our host.
Pamoja Tutashinda, brothers and sisters. Together, we will win. I'm your host, Kafin Umwafrika Moore, where Visions of Our People presents milestones in African history. We feature stories of our people that have marked a significant change in our development over the centuries. Today, we present to you an excerpt from a sermon that the Honorable Jaramogi Abebe Ageyman, also known as Reverend Albert P. Cleage Jr., preached a year after the 1967 rebellion in Detroit, where he emerged as a leader of the movement for black liberation and was called one of the most influential leaders in the black community by the 1968 Detroit Free Press poll. In this excerpt, Jaramogi preaches about understanding the meaning of power.
But as we look back, we can say up to this point, almost all black efforts of self-determination failed to materialize. And essentially because black people did not and do not yet understand the meaning of power. We can erupt spontaneously. We are capable of anger and indignation. And we are capable of heroic courage, but we do not yet understand the meaning of power. Almost all black efforts to control, to build, to structure have failed. Almost all white offers of cooperation have failed to materialize. So in that sense, in a real sense, in terms of an analytical look at the world in which black people live, nothing has happened since last July. We haven't done anything tangible that can be structured, and they haven't done anything. And so we are, in a sense, where we were, but we're not, because our thinking has changed, and we have covered tremendous distance in our ability to understand and think about our problem. White people were just not willing to transfer power. This should not have been strange to us. Nobody in the history of the world ever gave up power. Nobody. I don't care how religious they were. I don't care what the philosophy that they espoused was. No people anywhere in the world have ever given up power. So it shouldn't be strange when we look back and say white folks didn't give up no power this year. And they ain't gonna give up none next year either. And they loved the Poor People's March. They loved it because it had no relationship with power. None whatsoever. White liberals that jumped up and down with glee when Dr. King first announced that he was going to march on Washington one more time. And we're going to sit there, he said, till something changes. And they knew nothing was ever going to change, but it was a beautiful thing that black people again marched. And all of the white liberals around the country who hadn't known what to do, who were themselves getting a little weary of conversation, said, this is the thing we're going to support. That wasn't an accident. There were other things that they could have supported that had the possibility of a transference of power, that had the possibility of giving assistance to the black community, but they refused to support those things. White folks were not ready to transfer any kind of power. If the same thing happened, we can list the efforts that were made around the country. The Ford Foundation changed its total policy of handing out funds. They said we're not going to give out anything until we figure out what we're doing. Now what they were really saying, we're not going to hand out anything that might end up in the hands of black people who are trying to build power. And so for a year, the Ford Foundation was almost completely immobilized because they were afraid that some of the funds would trickle down to black power organizations. New York could no longer hand out any funds. All of the committees set up in New York could no longer function. The people being paid high-powered salaries in New York to handle Ford Foundation funds couldn't function anymore. Everything had to come right out of Detroit and Henry Ford himself. It was getting too big and too dangerous. The New Detroit Committee brought together all industrialists. They all sat down and said, we're going to build a new Detroit. And a whole year went by and not one thing have they done. Why? Not because they're stupid, not even because they're essentially evil, but because they're afraid that they might structure something that's going to build power in the black community. Because white people are just not ready to give black people power. There yet again, the bishops out of the Catholic Church and every big muckety-muck in the Protestant denominations, they all sat down around the big table. And I asked them, what are you going to do? She said, we're going to make connections for black people. I said, we had connections for years. We don't need, what we need is money. Well, what we're going to do, we go into a town and we're going to introduce black power leadership to, people who got the money. So right there, you knew they didn't mean to do anything. So I said, this is ridiculous. The only thing you can do is set aside 6 cities, allocate at least $2 million for each city in terms of the framework of self-determination, and then see what happens. So they argued, they twisted and turned, finally said, well, we'll try it. They went back home and the organization said, you ain't going to try that. So they came back and they didn't do anything. They weren't ready to participate in building power institutions in black communities. And in Detroit, we have a CORE, the Housing Corporation. You know, it had it on television, everything. You saw the pictures. They don't know what they're doing. It's supposed to be an interracial thing and going to build housing for black people. They don't know how to do what they say they're going to do. I'm sitting there on the board every time they bring up something. I say, how much is it going to cost black people? Because that's what they said at the beginning. We're going to build good housing for black people at the same price that black people are now paying. And when they get through, they start talking about it's going to cost us $8,000 per unit. It's going to cost $9,000 per unit. I said, these people are paying $85 now. When you get all through with this, you get it all fixed, or you're going to be able to sell it to them at $85 a month. They said, we ain't quite sure. I said, if you ain't sure, then you don't have any reason for a corporation. But we go through it week after week, month after month. They said, we're studying economic feasibility. That means they're studying to see whether it'll work. But they're studying to see whether it will work in terms of profit, and I'm only concerned about whether it'll work in terms of giving decent property to black people at prices that black people can afford. Now, they don't want it. I know that. I'm leaving the corporation for that reason. They're out for one thing, and we're out for something else. When we understand it, then our whole orientation changes. We had to go through the time to see just exactly in each situation what they would do. And in each situation, all white people will do is talk. They'll talk, they'll make profit, but they will not accept black people on terms of equality in any sense. I don't care how many black people you put on a corporation board, if they've got the $1 billion that's going to control the corporation, they're going to buy up half of the black people on the board and going to control it through them. So we say, what happened? Well, we know a little more than we did. We'll be better able to function after the next one in terms of experience. We tried almost everything that could be tried. But in the black community, there's something else. Sometimes we forget what it is we're trying to do. We're trying to escape from powerlessness. We got to remember that. Almost write it down, put it on your mirror in the, in the bathroom where you women get beautiful, where you men shave, where you can't get away from. We are trying to escape from powerlessness. Black people are trying to escape from powerlessness. We're trying to build institutions that make it possible for us to escape from powerlessness. And nothing that does not contribute to our escape from powerlessness is valid in the black community. Anything that contributes to our escape from powerlessness is valid and necessary in the black community. But we forget it. We have taken the superficial aspects of a rebellion, of a revolution, and we're making of that a substitute for the struggle for power. We are engaged in a power struggle with white people. There's no escape from that. You can't state it any other way and make it something else. The white man is the enemy. We are fighting against him because he's got the power and we don't have it. So the only way we're going to get it is to take it. We have to build power into our own institutions, into our own community. But we have to remember what we're trying to do. We're trying to get power.
You can purchase Jaramogi Abebe Ageyman's books, The Black Messiah and Black Christian Nationalism, from the Shrines of the Black Madonna bookstore in Detroit by calling 313-491-0777 or in Atlanta, Georgia at 404-549-8676.
Thank you for joining us for Visions of Our People. We hope that our stories of commitment, perseverance, and triumph have inspired you to follow your vision of creating businesses, institutions, and services that uplift our brothers and sisters, serve our community, and make us great people that our Creator made us to be. We wish you peace and blessings, and we invite you to join us again for Visions of Our People.